thank you, Cody, for agreeing to share your story with us for worship this Wednesday. Can you just start out by sharing with me who has shown you hospitality in your life?
Well, I'd say thanks for, thinking of me and choosing me, giving me the opportunity to be in front of the congregation. Let's see, who has shown me hospitality? I was younger, I was about 12 years old. I ended up living with my aunt and uncle. They took me in as their son. They had all girl daughters. So I was the only boy in the house. And they showed me, how to fit in, how they, bought me some new clothes and helped me fit in a new town. Um, my aunt taught me how to cook, which was great. I love cooking. So a lot of her recipes like biscuits and gravy, I still make to this day.
Right.
Um, and yeah, really, it was a great situation. And it, it probably taught me a lot about, caring for people, because I was so young then. It showed me that, there are people out there who will care for you. So, so that really was a great feeling. I'll never forget it. I'm still really close with my aunt and uncle.
Nice.
Um,
So you have had that experience of kind of early on an experience of welcome and hospitality. I'm wondering if there's a time when you have experienced an extravagant hospitality.
yeah, so on my winter trip of 2020 in December, I went to Belize and beautiful country. I highly recommend traveling there. If anybody ever wants to consider it, I'd love to give you tips and pointers about, because there's different cities and the beaches are all different. Um, but it ended up being my last, let's see, like 7 or 8 days of my trip. I arrived in this city called Placencia, and they have the best beaches in Belize. And for whatever reason, I took a bus. I took a late afternoon bus from the area I was in, and it was supposed to be a 2 hour bus ride, and it ended up being over a 4 hour bus ride. And when we arrived in the town, it was past the curfew, the 8 p.m. curfew. So, the bus driver announced that, it's okay. He's alerted the police that, we're just arriving into town now and everybody is to go straight to their homes.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, oh no, I didn't book a hotel yet because I'm Mr. Wing It on my vacations. And I usually just do just fine.
Yeah.
So I arrive in the town. I've got my big backpack. I've got my laptop backpack and I'm hoofing it. Um, towards some light, that I saw like a light on it at a motel or a hotel looking place towards the beach. And nobody's in there. I ring the bell. It's just like a nightlight on there. So I go to the next place and I kind of turn around and I go down a boardwalk a certain way. And it's like a ghost town because everyone is to be inside their home by 8 p.m. or else they face a $5,000 fine and they go to jail.
Wow.
So it was real, like they actually followed the laws and no one tried to fight that system. And so I remember walking past this, I thought I saw a guy inside of like a 10 by 10 shack with a light on and it looked like he was cooking something. And I'm just like, this is the only human I've, and so I just walked past him though he didn't look like, he had much to offer.
Yeah.
And his name was David. And I ended up getting, about, a couple 100 feet away from David. And I was heading evidently down the street towards the police station. And David saw that. He had come out of his shack, I guess, and was eating whatever he had just cooked. And I could yell him kind of yelling, hey, but he wasn't like trying to be too loud so that the police that are just, I guess, a half a block, I was heading that way, a half a block away,
Yeah.
would hear anything. And I looked and, I look back and I'm like, no, he didn't look sketchy, but he just didn't look like he had much to offer. I'm like, I'm not going to sleep in that shack.
Yeah.
I will sleep on the beach first before. So I'm sitting there talking with David and David's little, his shack that he lives in is 10 feet away from this apartment building. And this man named Clint stepped out of his door and you're okay to be on your property. You just can't be out in the streets after 8.
Mhm.
And so he started conversating with me and next thing you know, he says, well, my son just bought a house in Minnesota.
Oh my God.
His wife's from there, so they live there now. And I'm like, oh, wow, small world. That's what I do is I sell homes.
Yeah.
We chatted some more and, probably just kind of getting a read on me. And he's like, so you really don't have any place to stay? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I'm officially homeless. I might be sleeping on the beach.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, they'll arrest you there too. And they were going up and down the beaches just to patrol.
Mhm.
I'm like, wow. And so I'm thinking in my mind, like, what the heck am I going to do?
Yeah.
I think I might be shacking up with David in this little 10 by 10 shack on like a wood floor. And so Clarence, he lets David and I talk some more, and he comes back out of his apartment and he says, yeah, I'm going to clean up a room for you and you're going to stay here tonight. And I'm just like, really? I mean, and he shows me, and it's not much, it was mate had moved out months prior, and he kept all of her stuff in there. So it was like stacked from floor to the ceiling of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the bed it wasn't great. It was like literally a banana shaped mattress that I made do on. And he went in there and cleaned for like 45 minutes. He comes out, his shirt's like soaking wet from the sweat. In the bathroom smelling like bleach. Like, he cleaned everything up really nice. And he hands me brand new sheets. I open them in the package. They're brand new. And he's like, you sleep here tonight. And he hands me a key. He's like, I'll be gone in the morning. I'll be at work. But just lock up, leave your stuff here. And here's the Wi-Fi password. And why don't you find a place tomorrow and just come get your stuff, and you can come back and give me the key whenever. It doesn't, it's not a big deal. So I got some sleep. Next morning I woke up, I went and got some breakfast from where David works at.
Yeah.
Gave him a handsome tip because he probably saved my butt. And let's see. And then I ended up staying real close by there.
Yeah.
Just on the other side of the apartment building was a hotel.
So these two men who've never met you before in their lives talked to each other, cleaned up a house, gave you clean sheets for a bed, gave you the key to his own home.
Right.
That's extravagant hospitality. That's amazing. I love that story. So
Yeah.
you've experienced some pretty beautiful hospitality, actually, in the terms of a home and a bed to sleep in. And I'm curious to know if you have had an opportunity to show hospitality to others.
Oh, I think with my career, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I love helping people get their home ready to sell, because there's a lot of tricks of the trade that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I love, sometimes there's some back and forth because it's hard to get people to let stuff go.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't have to throw it away then, just put it in storage or put it in a garage or something. So that's a challenge. So, I approach that really lightly and delicate. It's their history.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to throw it away, but at the same time, you want to impress people when they walk through your house. So
I think it's interesting that as a young person, you found yourself in need of a home, and you have landed in a career path where you help other people find home, a place to settle in and live their lives. I think maybe God was working in the midst of that a little bit. Can you shared a story with me earlier about what you saw when you went to Belize and how much people were struggling financially because of COVID, with not even maybe having food to eat. And you share a story with me about one of the vendors that you encountered there. Can you tell that story?
yeah, so that was in the first city that I went to. It's an area called Ambergris Caye. So that was really famous for scuba diving. It's the best scuba diving I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm staying at a cheap motel right on the beach. And I was coming back from scouting out the dive shop that I was right out front. And there's this man there. I don't remember his name, but he had some cool stuff that he was selling that he had made out of wood. And I could just tell how, just asking him how, sales have been and how life's been. He's like, basically all of 2020, he didn't earn any income because tourism was closed down. And come October 2020, the country opened back up, but still no one's really coming. No one's just trying to travel. And so he's a polite man, but he's like kind of, if I'm here visiting from America, he knows I've got a few bucks. And he's like, well, why don't you buy something? And I told a story how I just sold my house in September and I just did the big purge.
Yeah.
And I'm no longer acquiring stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sort of over that part of life. I'm looking to live just without a bunch of stuff. So, I went and got lunch and then I realized this guy's still there. So I went and I was like, for lunch, it's like $7 for a lunch. So I just asked him, hey, I had some stew. It's stew chicken is like their infamous dish there. And it's good, whatever seasonings they use. And they always serve it with rice and beans. So, and if you know anything about me, Erica, I like to eat low carb, but
but you eat rice and beans.
But I eat lots of rice and beans there because it's just like the staple. And it's not like rice and beans that I've ever made. It's like flavorful, good stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just asked him, hey, do you want some stewed chicken and rice and beans? And he's like, sure. So I went back to the same stand, this little tiny restaurant, this office, basically they cook and they pass it out the window to you. And I got him a nice order of lunch and just hooked him up with lunch. You could see him talking to people because he was at the dock first was the scuba place. And then at the end of the dock was a restaurant bar. And so there was some travelers. So they would come past him and just do the, no, thanks, dude, and not even give him the time of day. And here this guy is just trying to feed his family and earn a buck.
Yeah.
So I couldn't just do that to him.
Yeah.
But I told him the truth. Like, I don't want any more stuff. So.
I actually love that. I love that you didn't just pretend something, but that you found a way to care for another person in a way that was authentic and true to you. I think to maybe wrap up our time, I would love to hear from you how you would define hospitality. What does it mean to welcome people to you?
It's nice to just chit chat with people and identify where they're at and try to, cheer them up a little bit and just figure out and maybe not talk about their past, just kind of talk about today and what you're up to, what's going to create some happiness today. And really just let them know you're human and be sincere with them because that's pretty darn easy. Like family moving forward was a pretty easy task. The hardest thing was helping them get on the bus for the day. And that was just like, I wish we could hang out with them during the day and help them actually accomplish something. But they had their next step, which they already had a place to help them with that. So I had to understand that and just accept it.
Yeah. So
for me, it's pretty natural to do and just to offer, and it doesn't come as a challenge. It just, even like we would talk to some like a teenager or like a 10-year-old or something. It's just they're not really there. So just to chat with them a bit and ask them how school's going or whatever it was just kind of nice to hear them talk and kind of socialize a bit.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to share some of the stories of yours. I feel like you have given us a really beautiful picture of what it looks like to love and care for people, to give and even receive hospitality and welcome. Thank you for sharing your story with us for worship.
Well, thanks for having me. And thanks for being so welcoming when I first came to the church. Kind of everybody was so darn nice.
Yeah.
It blew me away. I hadn't been to church in so many years that it was overwhelming, but I knew everybody here is nice and they're genuine.
Yeah.
So just get used to it. So
you're the perfect fit for our congregation because you are the same. So
it was a good fit. So yeah, thanks to Dan Bies for extending the great care.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Cody.
All right. We'll see you, Erica.
Yep.